Hello. Tina Fee sent me a email saying, how do you use essential oils for anxiety, for migraine, for fibromyalgia? It's just a small thing, said Tanya. It's not like a huge library of books. I don't think even that would cover that, but we will try, because I'm guessing that's what you're suffering from. And goodness me, that's a hell of a load to be working with. So interestingly, in 2004, a neuroscientist called Ethan Russo, who is also a cannabis advocate, proposed that those three problems were linked, along with illnesses like chronic fatigue syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, that they were linked through a strange system that the emotions seemed to cause physical complaints. And so for all of the time the doctors have been saying, oh, sorry, it's all in your mind. Yeah, it might be in your mind, but it's definitely in your body too. And Russo proposes that the reason for this may be because of a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system. The what? So readers of my cannabis book, what a tome, will recognise that the endocannabinoid system is the primary endocrine system in our body. It signals like a volume switch for neurotransmitters and for hormones. And neurotransmitters in particular go from one nerve to another nerve, and there's a gap between them. And across that gap, we call it the synaptic gap, are sent chemical like carrier pigeons, really, I always say. So these carrier pigeons will be things like serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, glutamate. They're things you've heard of, perhaps can't grasp what they are, but these are signalling molecules. And of course hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, insulin, loads of different hormones that you will recognise. So what the body does is it goes, right, I'm going to send you a message from here to here. So this is the presynaptic nerve, postsynaptic nerve. And when the message gets here, the postsynaptic nerve sends information backwards and says, no, I've got enough of that, don't send any more, or no, I need some more, or that was way too much, thank you. So this is healthy. Imagine, I always think of it, there's a very dangerous turn not far from our house where you can't see round the corner. And we went round it one day, rushing back from the Christmas shopping, going a bit faster than we should have been. And a man came with a sign, stop. And it's very irritating. We're late for picking up the kids from school. You've got to stop. When we went round the corner, there was an enormous hedge cutter, industrial hedge cutter, blocking the whole of the road. And he'd stopped us going straight into that. We couldn't see it. And it was only like 10 metres away, we couldn't see it. He was on his walkie-talkie and the man the other end was on their walkie-talkie saying, okay, you can set them through. No, I'm sending somebody through. So there was this relationship between this walkie-talkie and this walkie-talkie, and this is what the endocannabinoid system is like. Now, if there are not enough endocannabinoids in the system, they're little chemicals, or there's not enough receptors to receive the endocannabinoids, then this system goes completely awry and we start to have imbalances in illnesses like, imagine what we said about insulin. So diabetes, straight away, that's happened because the endocannabinoid system isn't working properly. So Ethan Russo proposed that if there were not enough endocannabinoids in the system, then we would have this problem with the emotions bringing it down and these awful pain syndromes erupting. So things like fibromyalgia, like migraine, like chronic fatigue syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, where it's, well, I mean, people called it yuppie flu, didn't they, the chronic syndrome. There just doesn't seem to be any reason why it's happening, and yet it's destroying people's lives. endocannabinoid dysfunction, according to Ethan Russo. And I have to say, I have come to agree that that must be so. So, Tanya, you need to be taking some CBD oil, right? That's the CO2 of the cannabis plant. So that's dealing with the root cause. It's too small a video to stretch right across, but for anxiety, the CBD will certainly raise the levels of the endocannabinoids and should remove us from the feelings of anxiety and calm us. I would also say to you, be taking omega-3 capsules. So they help the endocannabinoids to raise. The endocannabinoids are made from a substrate that comes from, indirectly, omega-3. So we need to be filling our body with that. But then how can we actually deal with the symptoms of feeling incredibly anxious? Well, I would be going, I've said it so many times today, you'd think I was just trying to sell this one book. I'm not. I would sell all my books. But this one, spikenard, is the best oil for anxiety. And I would say it kind of depends on what's causing your anxiety and how it makes you feel. Imagine if you were looking at a cartoon and it was a scared cat and all its hairs. That's spikenard, right? But if you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so worried, I just need somebody to perhaps shake me or cuddle me or just listen, or I can't stop worrying, then that's frankincense. So they're different, aren't they? They're very, very comforting in different ways. So from that point of view, we've got the anxiety. The anxiety, of course, may lead to the migraine. That might be what's causing it. But likewise, the migraine could also be a hormonal problem. I don't know about you, I don't get it so much now, but when I was younger, day 2 of my period, oh my goodness, my head hurt so much, I felt sick. It wasn't bad enough that I got period pains and I felt like I wanted to rip the planet apart. I got this headache too. It was the hormones that were doing it. So it's different, isn't it? So it might not be anxiety, but maybe the anxiety is causing the hormone problems. It's different. So we can treat migraine in layers. So we treat the pain. So there's nothing very clever in that. The lavender, chamomile, that'll do. But the body is really struggling and it's reacting in this way because the stress has caused us to have an imbalance in the liver. The stress always exhausts the liver, and the liver always throws up illnesses like migraine, eczema, psoriasis. Yes, it's an angry organ and it's reactive. So if you're stressed, then the liver is going to be your problem. And you know what? If you're drinking, how are you going to make that better? You're making it worse, aren't you? So I would say treat the liver. So to do that, I use hepatic oils. So eucalyptus, peppermint, chamomile, maroc. So those are your, like, your main, or my main hepatic oils. But isn't that interesting that you might have a headache because you've got sinus congestion, so you're using eucalyptus for that. And you probably feel nauseous because you've got a migraine and you're using peppermint for that. And you've got a headache, so you want to deal with that, so you're using chamomile for that. And goodness me, there's like this cycle of these oils that do so many things all together. But in terms of getting the liver to do what you want, which is clean up and behave itself, you're going to have to do 2 things. And the first is you're using those hepatic oils in a way that will flush the liver and get it to start working properly again. We want to boost it. Oils will do it, but it won't do it as effectively as if you were using acupressure points. And the way to use acupressure points for the liver is to rub those oils in a carrier oil, in a massage oil, in a moisturizer, doesn't matter as long as they're diluted, down the side of the leg, the outside of the leg. Now that sounds really weird and it makes no sense even to me, even though I've been doing it for 20 years, but I promise you, as you rub it up and down, you're activating the hepatic, the liver meridian, to boost, to cleanse, to sustain, to bloody calm down and behave itself. So down the side of the liver meridian, which is outside, down. Imagine you're wearing jeans. Don't do it when you're wearing jeans because you can't get to the skin. But where the seam goes to the outside of your leg, that's where your meridian's going to go. And they kind of zigzag backwards and forwards. But you know what? Just rub it. That's it. So you need to fortify the liver. You've cleaned it. You want to. We've moved out the debris. There's a hole in effect. You've moved out the negative energy. We've moved out the toxins. We need to replace it with good stuff. And that's the fuel for the liver. And that's vitamin B complex, and vitamin C, because vitamin B can't absorb without vitamin C. So, incidentally, all of that is in this book, which is available on Amazon. It's all explained clearly with dosages and diagrams, and better than I just did it. Fibromyalgia. Do you know what? I'm so glad I don't have that. I can't imagine what it must feel like to live in that much pain. Your CBD is certainly a specific that you should be using for fibromyalgia. I'm here again, advertising the book of the century, Spikenard. It's the best thing for pain, guys. It's just the best thing. But for fibromyalgia, I think I would be tempted to try a drop of camphor in the mix. The reason for that is one of the pain mechanisms in our body that the fibromyalgia goes through is something called the TRPV channels, trans receptor vanilla protein. Sounds like ice cream to me, but it's not. It's a channel through every single cell in the body. And what they do, they got kind of two functions. And the first is that they monitor heat and, well, hot and cold. Yeah, so if you touch something hot or you touch something cold, then the TRPV channels, and they're right the way through the body, react to that. Now, what's very interesting is they send channels, messages along nerves. And the nerves that react to the TRPV channels are kind of they come in a bunch of 3. And the messages go fast rail, a bit of a slower, and then a meander. So what happens is, let's think about it. And those of you that read the cannabis book will know this, because I researched this in depth for there, so that's how I can do it so quickly. But imagine you touch the stove and you go, you've moved your hand before your brain's even gone, oh, what did I do? God, that hurt. It's gone. TPRV channels have gone, move. So one of the nerve fibers is like the superhighway, and it's very, very insulated by a product called myelin. And myelin locks in the messages, so it's very, very good. It's like super fast broadband fiber. It's very well insulated, so the messages get to the brain very quickly. So the message about the pain gets to your brain to move your hand quicker than the fact that you went, oh, I touched the oven, which is really weird when you think about it, isn't it? So that one is your reaction. That's your initial reaction. But the middle one is the one that goes, oh, I touched the, oh, what did I do that for? What did I do that for? That's ridiculous. And then your mental body goes, oh, when are you going to learn? Don't leave the gas hob on, and you're beating yourself up. Then there's a third one that has hardly any insulation for myelin, that takes a very, very slow meander up to the brain. And that's the one that still leaves you throbbing ages afterwards. So it goes, have you learned, Einstein? That was a bit bloody stupid, wasn't it? Imagine if you had cut your finger. The pain in the finger is to say that there's a danger that you need to attend to this because it's open and infection can get in. So you've put the plaster on and actually it scabs over. It shouldn't really hurt for very much longer. The inflammation's gone down, but it might hurt for several weeks. If it's a bad cut, it might hurt for several weeks after, and that's nerves. But more to the point, that is TRPV channels, because what they're doing is they're remembering the pain, right? It's that very slow one that's still sending messages. So that pain doesn't really exist in the brain, it exists in the tissues. Now, camphor has been proven to work on these channels. The strange thing about camphor is if you inhale it, it's cold. But if you put it onto the skin, it's locally heating. So why is that? Well, that's because it's interacting with these TPRV channels. Remember I said it's hot and cold. So what I would be looking at for fibromyalgia, I would be looking at doing definitely having CBD. I would be looking at using something like maybe rosemary. I can't, rosemary is very, very good for pain, specifically this pain. I think I would be tempted to try some tuberose for the pain, but yeah, drop a camphor. And just killing oils like Roman chamomile, geranium, lavender, spikenard. Hopefully that can help you. I think really for fibromyalgia I probably need to do a much better video, but hopefully that will give you a start, Tanya. If you do find that you need some extra help, then feel free to message me. I am taking private patients, and if you wanted to, we could work together more carefully to see if we can get to the root of these pains and try and get to the root of why your body's reacting in this way. I think it would be very useful for you to have a listen to the video that I did about diverticulitis and how the body is reacting to a mental issue. I think that certainly if you're having all of these endocannabinoid problems, then there is definitely a mental and emotional thing that we'd be better treating than the physical section. So I hope that helps you. Thanks, Tanya.